Welcome to Wellness Radio with Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher as your host. Her show discusses topics of health, wellness, and spirituality, and is about discovering your place in this great universe, from your cells to the cosmos. Along with her guest, in casual conversation, she strives to ask the difficult questions that may be holding you back from a vibrant life, and shares new ideas that may inspire you to make a change in your life that you only can see in your dreams. And now, here is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wellness Radio. This is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher, and it's a pleasure to have you with us here this evening. Tonight we are going to be talking about how can you get your essence, your mind, your thoughts, your body, all into an alignment and be able to say, I need to let things go. Is it just about cleaning some of the clothes out of your closet, cleaning out your drawers, turning around, going to the store, say, ooh, I need this, I need that, and fill them right back up again? What are we talking about? We're talking about that space inside. What is that space inside? If you've been following the show for over the last 11 years, I've always shared that our soul essence is like a glitter ball. It's kind of energized, and it's spinning around and reflecting and radiating all different directions, and it's right inside of us. Our human body is this wetsuit in which we step into every day because it's our vehicle by which we are operating on the earth at this time. On the wetsuit are badges, and those badges are our identities, our egos, our thoughts, our beliefs, our dogma, and the way in which we wish to be seen in the world. And when someone comes up to us and they push their finger on one of those badges, it will reflect to them what they want to see also, that from that part of us. And then we engage and have a conversation. We engage and we exchange energy. We talk and we be able to do a job, or to have a family, or to do our day-to-day living. But what happens when we end up with blockages? We end up with things that no longer resonate, and we start shedding badges. Then what? Who are we? How are we going to get there? How do we navigate our day and time? And what is our true purpose and mission in life? Is it about putting down a list and saying, I'm this, 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 and this, and then set out with those qualities to find other people to be able to push badges and see if we can have an engagement? What do you do and how do you navigate when you've decided, no, that's not me? You're no longer living in a left-to-right existence. You're living in an ascended world. My guest today is William Young. His book is Yoga of Courage and Compassion, Conscious Breathing and Guided Meditation. What William will be sharing with us today is just how to assess where we are, how to be able to see, can we breathe? Yes, that word, breathe. Can we breathe and see where we're going forward? And can we find that the breath is the vital essence that brings us right in and delights our soul that's on the inside of this human vehicle? And how can we operate from therein? William, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Jeanette.
William, I'm so glad to have you here with us because you're coming to us from Holland, and I'm going, wow, I'm so excited. I wish I was right next door, and we could sit down and have this conversation and just feel each other's energy, yes?
Yes, it's so nice.
Yeah. I think really, truly, when you talk in your book about yoga, it's really in the breath and the energy. It's almost what we'd like to share today is how to step into the space of energy and to feel our energy of you and I having this conversation radiating out to others. Isn't that truly our purpose in life?
Well, that would be wonderful if we can carry on our conversation in a way that there is something in between us and something that is different from you and different from me that is ringing through what we say and the ideas that we exchange. I truly believe in the possibility of that.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you here today to, as I call it, dance in the ethers. So let's get on with it. We will dance in the ethers. So when we're talking today about the word yoga, a lot of people say, that's that thing I got to stretch, that thing I can't do. I can't get on the floor. Even myself. I don't know what happened to my knees. I got up one day, and they haven't been working so well, you know. And I said, okay, we're not going to go there. But it doesn't stop my life. It doesn't stop my engagement. It just has a little bit of cricketiness. We kind of need to exercise it, so to speak. Do you think that the word yoga stops a lot of people right there?
Well, I think the way we know yoga is then it is something that is coming from India, and then we have read all these books with nice pictures of half-naked men who are very limber and can do all sorts of funny things with their bodies, and it's kind of an imported article from India. And I've always had the feeling what may be very good and healthy and energizing for the Indian person, man or woman, is not necessarily so healthy for us Westerners. And especially in the breathing, may be very different because when you read the Indian exercises about the breath, sometimes to me it comes across as a very controlled way of breathing. Counting your breathing in and holding it in for a few counts and then counting it when you breathe out. And I think what we Westerners need more is a more loose, a more natural way of breathing and not controlling the breath, because we are controlling so much already. We try to control our lives, we try to control the whole world, and you see what happens when we are controlling too much with the world and the earth and with Mother Earth. So, like the yoga I try to describe in my little book, Yoga of Courage and Compassion, is in some very essential ways almost the opposite of the yoga that is popular so much now. And also people are doing yoga like a kind of a fitness exercise. They want to become slim and slender and youthful. And so it is also about how you want to be in the outside world. You were talking about badges, so we want to be looking attractive and younger than our age, and that people give us compliments about how we look. And, I've been working for the past 30 years or even more with people who have cancer or had cancer but are still trying to get back into life again. And their bodies, they cannot do all these physical feats that are pictured in the books. So the yoga I developed with those people had to be much more subtle and easy and geared more towards relaxation and the breath, and then also not to be clogged up in your physical body, the body that you will see when you are standing in front of the mirror, but that there is a deeper layers of experiencing your body. And I have heard so many people say, it feels so wonderful to realize that I am more than the body that I see in the mirror. And then, with a mastectomy or a scar of an operation. And when I also live the greater space that is in me and around me, I can have a sense of true wholeness, of being me.
So in essence, don't you think that your work, William, is truly about accessing that soul inside and helping them get through? In other words, a crack has developed within that human wetsuit, and they are able now to be able to see, let in, receive, and start to come into a different knowing. Because I think sometimes when people get sick or they don't feel well or something and their world's not working, they end up putting too much armor around them, and you can never get into that soul space. So really what you're able to do is bring them in through a crack and says there is a possibility. Can you allow it? Because a lot of times they're not willing to even allow anything to come into their space.
Yes. I think you're very right saying this, and also using the word crack. It's a beautiful way of saying about what all of a sudden happens in your life, that the outside theater is not being performed, and all of a sudden the curtains are closed, and you have to go backstage and see what is going on there. But in this case, backstage is your inside. So,
so do you think that in essence, truly, I love what you said before about the control and stuff, about the other kind of yoga, because, people always talk to me, many decades ago about meditation and stuff like that. And, and then it came along, recent years, and people would have signs, on their building. It says guided meditation at 10 o'clock tomorrow. And I said, oh, I'm so excited to do a meditation here. And they're like, yeah, it's a guided meditation. She's going to guide you through. And I said, oh, no, you're not taking me where you want to go. I'm going to go where I want to go. Yeah. So I would never go to any of those facilities or those things because I wanted to be in my own space and time. Don't you think that most people that have been hurt by cancer, disease, or life, or relationships, or whatever, also have that sense of feeling that they want someone to be able to help them, but they don't want to be taken, like their unconscious mind does not want to be taken somewhere. Their unconscious mind just wants to be free. And I think your work is a whole different aspect of being able to get to that space and time. And sometimes people will say, well, I had surgery, I had radiation, I had this, I had that, it didn't work. I had drugs, I had this, it didn't work. I had therapy of this, it didn't work. Because those were still operating from this outside existence. They didn't allow the soul to fly free. And you're teaching how to live and let the soul fly free, yes? That's the core, right?
That's it's beautiful when people at some point arrive at that moment in sensing themselves. But there is sometimes a lot of work needed to be done before you get there, because people they are confronted with their bodies not that healthy, not that beautiful as it was before. So it's also a mourning process that people allow themselves to mourn about losing the fitness and the energy they had before. And sometimes people want to kind of jump over the painful feelings of missing what was there before, and they want to be positive in their thinking, and still being very active, and sometimes still going to their work, and just to stand still with yourself or inside of yourself, and touching the awkward, difficult, painful emotions that are also there. Often is a passage that you do have to go through before you get at the other side, when all of a sudden you are beyond your scars and your pain and the health you had before, but that is not like how do I say it? It's not a half life or a quarter of a life, or even less. It's often a more full life than it was before.
Right.
And that's, I think, sometimes the most beautiful things I hear people say, that they say, well, it shouldn't have come to me through my cancer, and I wouldn't wish it anybody else to get an illness like this, but to go to the place where I am, where I find myself now. It's so much. There is so much more quality of life, either in the very simple things, hear a singing bird outside of my kitchen room, or just to feel enveloped or wrapped in the beauty of nature outside, or being in the hand of God. So it's somewhere both in between a very small thing, a flower in spring, or a very grand thing of being part of nature or in God's hand. But you have to go through, often through a dark tunnel and hard work of mourning, and so you have to be careful. Sometimes I met patients who were too optimistic and too active too soon, and then later on they felt they skipped quite a bit of the real work that also needed to be done. And that is the morning.
Do you think possibly, William, that the work we're really talking about is looking at those badges and everything, because we feel that that's our identity. It's who we are. It's what we've come through. Hey, we're a survivor. Or, hey, I went to college for this, that, or the other. Or, hey, I have this name or lineage, and all of this stuff I built up as my legacy. And now your soul is asking, are you all of those, or can you be or connect that which is the ultimate eternal soul? Because I think therein lies the really question. What is life? What is death? Is it not just the human vehicle? Because our soul is eternal. And once you tap into your soul as eternal, you're like, oh, okay, so if I have 2 weeks, fantastic. I understand that. This is my lifetime. This is the definition of the chapter of my book. It is not my book. Then I will go on to another chapter. And then death is just the time to close the door, to wait to be reborn and to recalibrate, so to speak. And then I'll be on to my next chapter. I think when you can get to such a conversation within your heart, not a conversation within your mind or your ego, mind you. It's a conversation within your heart and your soul, and you feel that so intimately and so deeply. The world seems to fall away, and you're just really breathing from your soul. That's, I think, where the deepest peace, the deepest I am, so to speak, connection with the energy, the flux of the cosmic flow. When you get in there, all of this other stuff is just stuff, don't you think?
I've given...
That's a lot to unpack, I know.
A lot of thought, yes. The whole thing, who are we as a person? People may think we are just the person, how we developed ourselves through school and family, and in what family we were born, and they say, well, it's not important at all, because we are none of that. Because if you identify yourself with your sex or with your country or with your profession. That's all ego. And many spiritual traditions want us to get rid of that ego because ego is bad.
Right.
So I try to find a middle way because
but don't you think, in essence, those were your... I mean, people will say, oh, well, I made a mistake. I wasted all my life. I should have known that. Why didn't I know that? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, no, those were your co-pilots in this life that brought you to this moment in time. Without all of that stuff, you may not have gotten to this point.
Yes.
So bless them. Thank them. People say, well, I need to forgive, blah, blah, blah. Well, you can forgive if you want, but they were there to also bring you through this space. So they were, cancer, when it shows up in all of those ugly surgeries and all of that painful and suffering, they were there to bring you to this space. You may not have ever known it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So those things that do happen in your life, like in your relationships, whether they are broken or not, or with your health, those are things that happen on in the very physical realm in life, and they may help you to understand that life is not limited by these things that happen in your life, the bad things, and even the good things. So you were talking about those badges and how we identify ourselves so easily with the badges. I'm such and such and so. I'm an important man. I'm an attractive woman. And I think it's very important for your spiritual growth to not identify finally with those badges. On the other hand, I also find it something precious that you still are a very unique individual, that you are this person, and that you are not part of a group or a family. So when I found out I'm half Chinese, half Dutch, but I'm really brought up in Holland, and it's very individualistic, and you don't want to be part of the group, and you want to get out of the house as soon as possible. And then when I discovered that they also had Chinese family, I thought they were all killed in the communist revolution. And so I guess it was 34 when I discovered, oh my goodness, I still have a Chinese family. Well, it was very nice to meet them, but then I realized how much you are not the individual that you are, that you got used to in Holland, very individualistic society, and I found it very, very difficult not to be my own individual person, and to all of a sudden being sucked into a family. So I kind of struggled with, well, there is something very good to be part of a family, but being you yourself, when I came back from China, I felt myself more Dutch, even more Amsterdam than ever before. And it was because I also needed the uniqueness of being me and making my own decisions and be also different from others. So there is we have to find how, in what way, things that seem so much opposite to each other, being part of a group, being part of the cosmos, and being you, different from your brothers and sisters around you, how to bring those, how to live those truths together in one body and in one person. So
Well, I think also, too, when you share in your book, William, you share the process. You have a lot of breathing techniques, and each chapter is a walkthrough. And just as you said, there's no shortchanging. You can't skip from chapter 1 to chapter 8 and say, oh, I got this, I know this, I already knew that. It's truly about saying, walk the walk anyway. Even if, I like to say, even if you're wearing worn shoes, you've been down this road before, it doesn't matter. Put them on again, those worn shoes, and walk down it again. Walk down it a few times. Continue with chapter 1. If chapter 1 takes you 10 years, this lifetime, or 2 days, it's more about being able to say, let's walk the walk together.
Yes.
Because in essence, I think sometimes people will say, but I this, I that. Well, maybe if you're walking chapter 1 again, it's because the world around you needs you to radiate that energy, and maybe you're serving a purpose in your area. You're serving a purpose with those that are maybe feeling your energy in the cosmos or in the collective or in your country or whatever it might be. So I think the essence is not always that I'm here and, oh, aren't I good, and I radiate out. Maybe when you go back to the beginning, it's not that you missed something. It's not that you, well, I have to help, or this is my job. Maybe when you get back to the first one, you may say, I choose to be here and live only in the present moment. Because when you can live in that present moment, then chapter 1 might show up for your entire lifetime, right?
Yes. Yes, and it's also a mystery in a sense to say, I live in the present moment.
Yes.
Then the thing is, what is this I? Is this identified with the ego? Is the I, is that a collection of all those badges you were talking about? Or is the true I, who lives in the present moment, the I that has liberated itself, himself, herself, of being glued to those badges. And even when you're not glued to all these badges, that you then all of a sudden say, I live in the present moment. How beautiful this is. And it is discovering at the same time that space, the fullness of that present moment, but it is also discovering a deep sense of being this I, which is not an ego I, but it is a cosmic I in a sense.
Right. I think also too is that when you get to that space and time, and you truly feel as if you're not living, the left to right, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm right, I'm wrong, all that stuff, and you're really working within the breath, and you're kind of, as I call it, in the abyss. You call it, the cloud in your book and stuff. It's when those things fall away, and you're up just a little bit above the frequency band of which, everything exists.
Yeah.
When you're in that space and time, labels no longer exist. So if you're using sometimes some words and defining and whatever, that may keep you in the space, in the lateral flow, because it's necessary, because we are still humans. We do still need to pay our bills. We do still need to go to bed at night and take a shower. I mean, those are the things we're doing. So in essence, do you think maybe, William, in the year 2022, really what we're finding is that we are so much more in the spiritual realm that dipping our toe into the human spot is just to accomplish enough to keep us here? So in other words, it's almost as if our energy flow was a ball, and it was always this ball that kept us left to right. But now we've kind of taken it and morphed it like Play-Doh, and we've got maybe 70 or 80% of it above, and there's just like 10 or 20% below.
Yes.
Do you think that's where the goal, as you share in chapter 9 of your book, and that's how to be able to be in that piece of time, because we do still need to exist, but we still are working our spiritual, our essence, our soul, our energy flow to be more of that. And when we do, I think one time it's just going to pop. Words we will no longer have, because words are only for this lower dimension, and everything will be of energy source. Mm-hmm. Isn't that where in our dream time we can feel and tap into that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I
it's
think
almost like a magical, mystical experience, you know?
Yes. So this is also how I hope that it is once, and I don't know when, life in the world is going to be, and that somehow humankind, was able to develop itself. That that we are getting beyond this very, very materialistic phase in history, and we are discovering now that to be imprisoned in this very materialistic mindset, that it is that is going to destroy our Earth. So at this moment, Mother Earth is now our wake-up call, because she doesn't allow us to continue much longer along the road that we have been walking the past few centuries. So we have to develop into another kind of human being. And well, the good news is that there are also many people these days who are interested in spirituality and have a different concept of in their minds. When I started to work with the cancer patients in a hospital here in town, I could not use the word yoga because it was so exotic and so alternative. And the medical establishment in those days, they firstly resisted anything that smelled at alternative medicine. So I called it first relaxation therapy, and later psychoenergetic therapy. It's kind of mustering up the psychic reserves that there are in every person, either to strengthen the healing process from within, and when healing is not given to a person, to relax the mind, to be prepared for death. And so that was underneath that term, that umbrella of this term, it was accepted what I was doing in the hospital. And just later, and especially in these days, words like yoga, meditation, mindfulness are not don't scare the people so much as in those days. So there is a huge movement going on among people who are very much interested both in saving the earth, but also in spirituality and understanding that we are, as human beings, different from how we thought we were.
Yes, yes. You know, I think it's so interesting, you know, William. I see a lot of people, and they talk about this, and they say, well, you know, a bird is free. A bird doesn't have to think about going left or right. A bird just exists. Or they say, well, you know, look at a flower. It just bends with the air and blah, blah, blah. And I think, you know, we've gotten so great at comparing ourselves to someone else, something else, casting judgment, you know, or seeing the separation and trying to attempt to be able to see our commonality, when in essence, it's only the conscious mind that is in place there. But what's to say that a bird doesn't have a conscious mind and he is making a choice? What's to say that a flower says, hey, I'm not going to go around the corner.
I'm going to go. Consciousness of the flowers and the birds.
Right.
So maybe more surprises in store for us than we realize at this moment.
Yeah.
And it would be wonderful to think that consciousness is so wide and so large that there's a place for the flowers and the birds and us. And and that it would help us just to tap that source of consciousness and redirect our lives and redirect the spines in our bodies when we are in touch with that, with the source of that consciousness.
Yes, because I think really what we're saying with the humans is that we're casting in judgment a perception. In other words, we're saying I have to validate myself, my existence this way. If we took away the validation, which you see a lot of people do at end of life, or a lot of people do when they're ready to give up, and it's not really giving up, it's just releasing. When they do that, it's that validation no longer needs to exist.
Yes.
And even like when you see little children, or newborns, they have no validation there. So always people say, well, be like a child. And I'm going, some people say, well, I can't do that. Well, of course you can't do that because you're still looking in the validation,
Yes,
right?
Yes. And sometimes you see, either when people are getting sick or when they are getting very old, that all these badges just slide off their skins, and then the essence of the person then will come out.
Right.
A few weeks ago, my brother died, and he was my big brother, 11 years older than I am, and he was creative and intelligent and handsome. And then for the past 5-6 years, all this slid away from him. So it was a bit shocking for me to see, because I always looked up to my brother. But then I saw something very sweet,
different,
and gentle coming out. Yes. And even if you would, could talk with each other, then after 5 minutes, he had completely forgotten what we were talking about. But I said, well, John, that was his name, you are in Zen.
Yes. Yes, because what you did is you connected on an energy level instead of you had superseded through the wetsuit. The wetsuit is now transparent at the end of life. It's transparent, just as you said. All the badges have gone away. The wetsuit is no longer a thick black wetsuit. It's you can see through it, and you can say, and don't even have words or anything. A touch, or even just breathing with someone.
Just being present.
Right, but, a lot of people say, well, they're over there, or I'm not near them, I feel bad because I'm not there. You can sit and take the memory of a person, and you can still tap into their energy. Don't you think when your brother left, can't you still tap into his eternal soul energy now?
Oh, yes, even more so than when he was alive, because he was not the one to do yoga or meditation. Yes. So now I sit in my room, and then I do a few of my exercises and meditate, and I have a picture of him and me in front of me. And then it is as if, when I look at the picture, as if a door opens, and I just look in a wide space filled with light. I said, oh my goodness, that's very nice, dear John. That we are experience this together. And even it is as if you are leading me the way into these things of being silent and without badges and everything. So it's and also before he died, when the family was there, but at the moment when he died when some nurse just had to go to the bathroom, and then it was quiet and empty and nobody there. But like the weeks before, it was a very lively household, not too noisy, but wonderful things happened around him. Also, like relationships that had been disturbed for many years, all of a sudden they were together and they could embrace each other. Like a mother and her son who hadn't wanted to see her for many years. And now they were crying in each other's arms. So it was so beautiful. So I could tell him, well, John, you see what is happening around you, and you don't do anything to make this happen, but it is happening because you are here. And And
don't you think in his actual mind is, a lot of people at that point of time, when you get a cancer disease or a diagnosis, or if anyone has an end of a relationship or the end of life or whatever it might be, you come to that point and you, all of a sudden, your Rolodex in your head is spinning on steroids, and it's going around and around and around, and it says, what am I leaving behind? How good was I? What did I do? Blah, 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 blah. Yes. But really, in essence, what your brother did is he stepped in, and his purpose in life came with just before his last breath, because he brought together all the energies, healed generations, healed people's hearts. So in essence, he was a healer. So if you ever write an obituary, you say, I don't know about all the other stuff he did in life, but he was a healer because in his last breath, he brought together and healed hearts.
Oh, very wonderful that you are seeing this.
Don't you think?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Truly, yeah.
But I mean, that's the gift that you're trying to give to all of your patients that you work with, because that's what you want them to come to. If they've got 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 years, who knows, or living in the unknown, as we all do, we can have that and say, I can heal the world just by breathing.
Yes.
I can heal the earth. I can heal a plant. I can do anything. But all I'm going to do today is I'm going to step in, breathe, radiate. That's it. And then every one of your patients becomes a healer. So they're giving to the world, right?
Yes, that was the whole idea of writing the book. That in the end we would become would become healers. In the book, I would call it a Bodhisattva, which is a very Buddhist term, but I try to westernize that Buddhist term. But it is like not being egocentric, and that all spirituality has to come back to you, that you are going to be a wonderful person, and everybody will admire you and pray to you, something. But that through your being, the way you shake a hand or work in the garden or prepare food, that this energy finds its way, is channeled through the simplest of gestures into what you are doing in this world, whether it is your garden or your kitchen. And and then also, in speaking, even if you cannot speak so much, but the intensity or the inner essence of every word is like a mantra. It sounds through the space, and it's beautiful. Like if I try to teach yoga, I try not to think of what I'm going to say next. But for me, it's like singing. It's like singing a song, and then just let it come.
I always say this, William. It's like we are now going to tap into the flow, and people don't know what that is. So I always say we are now in a symphony of flowing energy. And they go, okay. Someone will say, I can hear a violin. Someone will say, I hear that sound. I don't know what it is. But once you get into that frequency flow, it's almost as if there's like this little vibration kind of sound of a symphony orchestra in the distance that shows up in your mind and in the back of your brain. And you don't know where it's coming from, and you want to turn it up. Yeah. And, but you can hear it. I always call it, I look at clouds all the time. I've got 70 or 80,000 photos, and probably 20,000 are clouds. And I say it's like... it's the whisper of your soul, so to speak. Yeah. I see that as clouds. But I think what we're really talking about when you tap into that symphony, that's the whisper of souls. So in essence, wow, aren't you in that? It's almost as if it's nirvana. It's this place you get, and you just go, everything drops away. And sometimes you have to think about it, because and take time when you're done with all of this work that you teach. When you jump back in, you have to take a while to get back into your body, and you got to make sure you don't leave any of yourself back up in the ethers, you know? I mean, I do that all the time when I get up in the morning, and it's like sometimes I go, oh, I got to go back to bed and lay down a little while because I left something of me up there. I'm not all together. And I think that's important to know, too. So just as I shared before about the Play-Doh of being, you know, way up, we're way up out there now, and we're just, to know that soothes our soul, but it also soothes our consciousness. Yes. It soothes our human essence. It soothes us to say, okay, I'm all right, I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm an eternal soul, and I'm just moving through this. And isn't that the profound gift that your work and your book is giving to patients?
Yes, I think so. I think if they got in touch with, where sometimes we in the Netherlands are very reluctant using the word soul, because then you are very different, you know. But I like to use the word soul more and more, and also to see this work as kind of soul work, to liberate the soul from the confines of all the badges, and also what is wrong or right with our bodies. But then I also want to see how the soul connects with the very physical and down to earth things, like working in the garden or working in your kitchen, but also like getting up and then enjoy your body how it is. And look at yourself and don't have all these judgments about how you look, and none of us looks the way they you want to look. But then accept yourself, even if you are standing naked in front of your mirror, and let go of all those judgments about too thick or too thin or too whatever. But just look at yourself and appreciate your being there. I mean, not in the mirror, but being here inside of your own body. And also your body is a gift of God, gift of the universe, you know. And the universe wants to be enjoyed and wants to be appreciated, and not prayed to or put somewhere high up on some pedestal. But it has to be, the whole universe has to incarnate, has to embody itself in every human being. And if you can then say, I love myself and I love you, then the grand and the small physical things have come together. And I guess I'm also interested in like how the great religions in the world come together. I'd like to be to have this sense of the consciousness and the cosmos and eternity. That's what we learn from Taoism and Buddhism. But I think what we still can learn from Christianity is incarnation. And that if there is a God, you know, like here in Holland, not many people still believe in God, but if there is a God, I believe there is a God. He incarnated in a human person of flesh and blood, you know, who ate and drank and had to go to the toilet and probably had an erection, a healthy erection in the morning. And so we have to appreciate our bodies when it is young, when it is middle-aged, when it is old, and also appreciate what is around us, the nature around us. So.
Well, you know, because we had to drop into a human vehicle to be able to be perceived. In other words, you know, I mean, I'm the type of person, like, I will see energy drift by, but that's me. But, you know, the other 99.99% of the world doesn't see that, you know. So in essence is that they see it through other ways and other things, and to realize our individuality of where we are today. And I think that's definitely something that we can say. Many people will say, oh, but I did all this meditation and all of this breath work, and I was doing really great, and all of a sudden now I got sick and I got a diagnosis. We'll say, fantastic, go back to chapter 1, and they're like, what do you mean fantastic? And it's sort of like, it's just a process.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a process.
Yes.
So the process is, okay, when you go back to chapter 1, let's start the mourning. Let's start the releasing. Let's start the awareness. What is it? What does it mean?
Yeah.
And then take away the words. It doesn't mean that. My head says it means that, but my heart doesn't say it means that. And then start that work again. I think so in closing, William, it's truly about being able to say, just as you share in chapter 9, absolutely, I keep going back to chapter 9, being silent, because I think I live in chapter 9, but I was so happy. I was like jumping up and down in my heart. I was like, oh, I'm so happy he put it into words, exactly how I am, how I was, how I've been, and how I feel. And it's, because sometimes I can't put it into words, Say, oh, but yeah, that's me. So I'm a Bodhisattva now. And I'll say, yeah, fantastic. So then now you could be seen as that by those who may need to have that validation to say, I understand that. But in essence, you don't live from the identity of it. You go right back and flip right back in to where you're just existing.
It doesn't have to become another badge, another
Yeah.
kind of identity. So now I found
Right.
a beautiful word. I'm not just
Right.
William. I'm a Bodhisattva. Listen, people, that's something very special. Well, then you're on the wrong track again.
Yep.
I threw in the word
Absolutely.
Bodhisattva just to kick out all the other words that you tend to identify yourself with, and this is a strange word, and then you have to start all over again from the beginning, from chapter 1.
Right. Yeah, because then it takes you on a different track to be able to get to another space and time. So I think people want to say, but, oh, well, I have to walk around, transparent. Well, sometimes, where are the names? Because that's that other 20% of us that our toe is still stuck in this human existence, and be okay with it. I think people are so saying, well, I didn't reach enlightenment because I still have a name, something attached to me. Well, you know what? Maybe you need to, because your toe is still in paying the bills, and your toe is still cleaning the bathroom, and your toe is still, driving the car. So be okay with that.
With who you are and who you are.
And it's
at what
okay that you
moment
got a label.
in life,
So what?
and it's all a process, and
Yes.
who you are now is not going to be the same person as tomorrow.
Right.
Even if you're not enlightened tomorrow, but then it is wonderful because you are still living life as a process, changing.
Because even the word enlightenment puts you on a pedestal and puts you into a judgment. So, hey, go with it, whatever. But I think we want to say, no matter who you are, no matter what's going on in your diagnosis, where you are, what you're standing on, if you need the words, they're okay. Be okay with that. But what we're saying is that's only 20% of you. Try to work on the 80%. And that's what we're doing today. Is we've spoken today to William Young again from Holland, and we've talked about that 80%. So what we're doing is we're strengthening up our 80% because we want to be ready. When it all goes poof, we're the first ones in line, right, William?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Janet, for talking together.
Well, William, can you share with the listeners how to find out more information about your work?
Oh, there's a website, but I'm afraid it's in Dutch. So the thing I have in English, that is this book, and then a few years ago I wrote my PhD a little bit late, and I just finished an English translation, which has a new title, is Losing Me, Becoming Me, and it is a research on the experiences that the patients report, and there are very, beautiful, sad, but also mystic experiences. And I look at these experiences from different perspectives, from a Western philosophy, but also from Chinese Taoism, and also from a very old Christian mystical movement that also honored the body, and that is called hesychasm, which is still there in Russia, I guess, and in the eastern parts of Europe. For me, very interesting, enlightening to look at the experiences that I research from these grand perspectives, and also to put those perspectives in a different space. There's not minor things that are happening that people are reporting, but they are very important. I mean, they have the same quality as the experiences of some of the famous mystics in East or West. So I want to...
Well, William, what I would like you to do, since this is a global show, if you could please share a message in Dutch of your feeling to the Dutch people, and how they could also then share your website in Dutch.
Okay.
And because I think that there are many listeners here, it doesn't matter where you are across the globe. Many people are looking for help. They're needing to have something to touch inside of them, and you can provide that. So can you share that in Dutch? That would be wonderful.
Yes, wonderful. Om dat het nu in het Nederlands te zeggen. Ja, ik had een prachtig gesprek met dr-Jeanette-Gallagher over mijn werk, wat ik lang geleden begonnen ben, maar het gaat nog steeds door. Iedereen is uitgenodigd om er kennis mee te maken, of in een of andere cursus die ik geef, of door dingen die ik geschreven heb. Het laatst was de publieksversie van mijn proefschrift, en waarvan de titel is Ontworden om te worden wie je bent. En heel veel waar we vanavond over hebben gesproken, dat komt daar weer op een andere manier in terug. En dat is altijd te bestellen bij mij. Kijk naar mijn website.
Very good. I thank you so much, William, for sharing that. It feels very much, just as we've said on the show today, is that when words disappear, you can tap into that energy. Even though I don't understand all of the Dutch language or the Dutch words, I can feel the energy in your voice. Okay. I can feel it in your transmission, and I think that's what we're trying to talk about, yes?
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Well, William, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you, and we thank you, and I hope you come on again another time and share with us as the world evolves.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Again, the book is Yoga of Courage and Compassion, Conscious Breathing and Guided Meditation. Please do click on the link on the bottom of today's show page to go directly to his website for more information. And it is about being able to say, breathe in today. It's going to be okay. This is all a process. We are learning more about the process. We are becoming more expanded as humans. We are becoming this experiential kind of soul existence. It's an absolute wonderful awakening, and we're all in this together. So be able to help and heal and bring yourself into that space and time. It's just a glorious moment in this present time. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Dr. Jeanette-Gallagher. Until tomorrow, have a great day.
Today we discussed many life-changing concepts. Who do you turn to, and how do you know what is best when faced with a health crisis? Dr. Jeanette is a patient advocate. She listens to the patient, the doctors, and the family, clarifies the health issues and concerns, then helps the patient make the best choices going forward. If you would like help implementing change into your life and health, we can talk and see where you are stuck and how to improve the quality of your life. Check the link on the bottom of today's show page or visit dr.jeanette-gallagher.com to schedule a phone appointment today.